Hey there, let's talk about the XDefiant open beta or open session as they like to. Today's video is going to go over some few simple things, right? Here we go. I'm going to list off these parts and I might add timestamps, I might not. If I do add timestamps, they'll be in the description below or in the comments below if I forget and someone else wants to do it. So we're going to talk about the pros, we're going to talk about the cons, we're going to talk on what my full thoughts are on it, and then we're also going to do a little bit of a deep dive into each of the factions. Well, maybe not a deep dive, just an overview of the factions. Okay? So, yeah, let's start with the pros. So, everything that I really liked about, the open beta is the movement. It feels fluid. The guns feel heavy. They feel good. They feel like really fun to play with. There's a lot of other good things about it, like I said, the movement, all that stuff. Also, spawn protection. Now, what I mean by spawn protection is when you're say playing Overwatch or playing, anything else that has like a side that has to stay in its zone for say payload or escort in XDefiant's case. And that is the fact that you can't shoot through into their spawn, right? So there's no like in Overwatch, you have like a healing part of your spawn, and then you've got your normal doorway into your spawn. I prefer XDefiant's way of actually, doing the whole you just can't shoot through into their spawn at all, whatsoever. Now there are on certain maps, and I don't think I got gameplay to show this off, but there are certain maps that do have like vantage points, like windows and stuff, and some of them have the spawn protection, some of them don't. I prefer some of them not having spawn protection because they are a big vantage point for the attacking team, especially for those first 30 seconds or so that you're trying to get the payload off, start, And I think there's a nice balance that should be in there, and I think a lot of the vantage points should have that whole like unprotected area. So that big, standing up top, you shouldn't be able to snipe absolutely everyone and everything from there while being protected whatsoever, But the other good thing that I do like about like the game modes and stuff is that it's not just one round all the time. Like escort is 2 rounds, and it's basically you have to get it to a certain point or finish the payload. And then the other team has to either pass your point or they have to finish the escort in the payload before you did. So like within less than your time limit kind of thing. Right? And like I think the way the round system works and all that stuff, and it's a lot more objective based than like say COD or anything like that. Now, is it a COD killer? Hell no. But we'll leave that till later on in the video. And now let's go on to the cons. Like, there's quite a lot of pros. I don't want to go through every single one of them. But again, the main takeaways here are guns feel good, sound good, and, feel good to move with. The movement feels very smooth, very fun, very, quick. It's very fast paced, all that stuff. And obviously things like spawn protection and all that. There's a lot of little things that I do like, and as you guys can probably tell here, DedSec is my favorite faction, but again, later on in the video is where we will break down the factions a little bit more. But let's move on to the con. I had a lot of server issues, especially on that first day, where the open beta was live, because I was a closed beta player. I got a day early. I got on June 20th instead of June 21st, like everyone else did after that, right? Everyone who wasn't in the closed beta before gets one less day, right? Obviously, so they can incrementally do it. But once that open beta hit, it took about a day or two, maybe 12 hours for them to fix the server's stability, at least. And a big thing that I did notice as well that's a pretty big con for me is some of the hit registration just didn't hit quite right. And what I mean by that is like a lot of the time, maybe the other team's getting, 3-shot headshots on me, like, or 3 body shots on me. And again, that's another issue that I'm a way to go into. But like, even if I'm hitting them, it's not registering my damage, or it'll put my damage up on the screen, like it does the whole, like, it shows the numbers and all that stuff. And showing that is, but they don't take damage. That's what really got me annoyed on some games, especially when I was streaming it, especially when I was playing through the game for quite a long time. And yeah, it wasn't great. But like, again, those are things that can be easily fixed by Ubisoft on their end of the game before its release in, like, I don't know when they're actually planning on releasing, but I know it's late summer. So I'm saying end of August and start of September, right? So yeah, so hit registration isn't the greatest at all, but it's way better than it used to be. I'll give them that. The hit registration is way better than the closed beta was, right? So I'm not saying they've not done a good job. I'm just saying they still need to improve it a little bit more and a little bit better. Make it a little bit better. Now, to talk about the 3-shot body shots that I was always getting killed with, or 1-shots, even from SMGs. Now, this is a little bit of a balancing thing. And I think like the AK, the ACR, and the MP7 were everyone's main 3 guns, because all of them did massive amounts of damage. And if you got 3 headshots, yes, you got instant kills with the ACR. Yes, you got instant kills with the AK. But some of the time I was getting 1-shot kill with the ACR, the AK, or anything like that. So, and that was at full health. That was at 100 health because, again, I'm not playing the Phantoms, so I don't have the 120 health like the Phantoms do. But even then, like, when I'm killing someone and they take so much damage and then I take 1 shot to the fucking body, yeah, no, I don't exactly appreciate it, And yeah, so, like, there's some balancing that needs to be done. There's some, like, basic things, the gameplay is very basic. It's very cut and dry. It's like, basically, the way I put it is if COD, Overwatch, and Ubisoft had a baby. That is the best way I can put what XDefiant is, right? It is not a COD killer. And again, that's what we're way to go into right now. Is it a COD killer? What are my final thoughts on the entire beta as a whole, now that I've played the entire beta? My thoughts are, it's good. I really enjoy it. It's really fun to play, even though there are quirks and it's really annoying to play sometimes. I think overall, Ubisoft has done a great job. It's going to replace COD for me, and like, I've never been like really liking COD recently, so like, this just gave me an excuse to get fully away from it. Like, I uninstalled Modern Warfare 2 2 months ago or so, and yeah, I've just been playing other games like TF2, Overwatch, all that stuff, and now XDefiant. And XDefiant is going to be a main game that I do play on the YouTube, maybe on streams as well. By the way, I will be streaming here every Wednesday and on Twitch every Monday and Friday. So check me out there and then down in the description below as well. Now, my final thoughts are, it's not going to kill COD. It's never going to kill COD. It is not trying to be a COD killer, right? As the creative head said, he just wanted to make a classic-based arena shooter, arcade shooter with a 3-lane system, very simple, very easy, but it does bring me back to those good old days of Black Ops 2. And that's what I really like, is probably, and it's probably the reason that I fanboy over it a little bit as well, is because maybe it just gives me that good nostalgia of playing Black Ops 2. Like, it was just fun. It was simple. It was easy to play. Now, there is a lot of, again, movement things like, slide cancelling and all that. But, like, if you don't like that, don't play XDefiant, because they'll never get rid of that, because it's a core part of the gameplay. But I will say, even though there is slide cancelling, it's not as bad as what Modern Warfare 2019's was. If you guys remember that far back, it was not, yeah, that was not fun to play against some people who really knew how to do it. But again, with a little bit of time and practice, you can get really good with the slide cancelling, as you can probably see in some of the gameplay that I've been playing throughout the video while I've been switching back to this camera and stuff, is that, you know, I'm not great at it. I'm not great at getting kills every time, every single time that I want to, but, you know, we'll take it where we can, right? And the last thing I want to say before we jump into the factions and stuff is I really enjoy that all the factions are unique. And, like, there's nothing, you know, similar about any of them, aside from movement and stuff. That's about all that's different. All that's similar really is movement. Movement's just your same over whatever class, you know? So let's actually get into the factions. So here's the factions, right? I think first up is the Queeners. Now, the Queeners, if you guys have played the Division or you are big players of the Division, you will know who these guys are. If you guys don't play the Division like me, you don't have really much of a clue, but from what I remember seeing is that they are the antagonists of the Division games. And those are the guys that you kind of go up against and all that stuff quite a lot in the Division. Now, these guys are like your pyromaniacs. You know, they use fire. They've got incendiary bullets. You know, they can make an explosion type thing. Again, sorry I didn't get gameplay of this, but any of you guys that want to see gameplay of it, just search it up on YouTube, and you guys will get to see what it looks like, right? Then you've got, like, you know, your Ultra, which is, like, I think for the Pyro is, like, a big flamethrower, basically. And, yeah, you just get to run about with that. Next up is the Phantoms. I had to think which order they're in there, because I can't really see it anymore, because I don't remember where I put the video, but I'll find it before I do the edit of this. The Phantoms are your Ghost Recon class faction, whatever you want to call them. I keep calling them classes because, like, it kind of is a class, but, like, it's also kind of not. But your Ghost Recon faction, or the Phantoms, are from Future Soldier, or they're based on Future Soldier, or they're like ex-ghosts that got turned into super soldiers, basically. But they are your more defensive tank kind of characters, and these guys have 120 health as a passive. So, like, I should also say each faction has a passive, and 2 active abilities, and an ultra. I forgot to mention that before I started with the Cleaners, but better late than never, right? But the Phantoms are basically your tank class. You're the one putting down the shields, or you have a riot shield and you have, like, a teammate behind you shooting all the enemies and all that stuff. Their ult is basically a big energy bubble, whereas if you get an enemy in that bubble, it's an instant kill, right? That's kind of basically what the Phantoms do. And, like, again, like I said, they're basically your kind of tanky class. I'm trying to compare these to, you know, characters that you would think of, like in Overwatch or Rainbow Six or anything like that. So next up is actually Libertad. Now, these are the freedom fighters from Far Cry 6. Now, these guys are your healers, kind of. Healers? Support? Healers? Yeah, we'll go with healers, right? They have a lot of healing abilities and stuff like that. I cannot remember what their passive is, so just look down, you know, at the actual thing. I will try and zoom in on the panel with the passive so you guys can see. But basically, their 2 active abilities are a self-heal kind of thing that does an area of effect as well and heals, like, your teammates and stuff if you're in close enough proximity to them. And the other one is putting down just a base heal that does a big area of effect that you just stand in. And the Ultra, I keep wanting to call it Ultimate, but it's Ultra. The Ultra is basically that big thing that you have as one of your active abilities, but it boosts your health to double. I think you go up to 200 health compared to your 100 in health that you normally have as a member of Libertad. Now, the next ones, you use stealth, guys. All of this, people who love stealth, people who love playing it like that, people who love the Splinter Cell games will love playing Echelon. Now, Echelon is your basic spy class kind of variation, right? You get to have either an intel suit, which basically reveals locations of enemies through walls and all that stuff, or you have a digital ghillie suit, which think of it as active camo from Halo, right? That's how it kind of works. And your ultra is actually Sam Fisher's pistol. You put your goggles on, you can see through walls, you can run around. Basically, the ability is called sonar goggles, but like you have the goggles and Sam Fisher's pistol, and that pistol does 95 to the body at far range. But if you're close enough, it will just instant kill everyone. Now, we left the best for last. No, we didn't. Well, we did, but we also didn't do it intentionally because they are last on the list of the factions. So, let's talk about my favorites, DedSec. Now, DedSec, if you don't know, are the hacktivist hacker group from Watch Dogs 2. They're also a big part of Watch Dogs Legion, I believe. I've not played enough Legion in a while to remember if they're actually a big part of it. Again, correct me down in the comments below. And while you're down there, you should subscribe too. Just so you don't miss any great content like this, especially once XDefiant is at full release, because I will do a video at least every one or 2 weeks, So if you like XDefiant, definitely subscribe. But basically, not Watch Dogs, DedSec have 2 active abilities. One is a lot better than the other, and the one that's better, we'll start with the better one first. That is the Spider Bot. Basically, the Spider Bot goes around and it face hugs an enemy and basically disables them. It does a little bit of damage, so if you do get them low enough and then send Spider Bot after them, you can do quite a lot of damage and you can kill them. If you've done more than half damage, I think it takes off about 40 points of health if you let it go fully. And the other ability is the hijack, which basically is, again, it's a useful thing if you're playing against the right team. If you're playing against a team who has a lot of deployable abilities, yes, you can use hijack and it will in turn effectively be better. Sorry. But it will be better, it will be more fun to play with. I think once people start using a lot more of the deployables, it will be a lot more fun to play with. And basically, hijack just turns all enemy equipment into yours. So, like, if there's a spider bot coming from you, you can hack the spider bot. If a healer's put down like one of their deployable heals, you can hack that, and that becomes your team's heal. So basically, your character as part of DedSec is kind of basically, how do I put this? The controller of how the battle goes, especially if the enemy team has a lot of deployables. Now, the last thing, which is the Ultra of DedSec, I'll get onto their passive in a second, because their passive is the only passive that I remember fully. But their Ultra is basically a mass hack. Think of it like Sombra's ability in Overwatch to, hack every hero, right, within a vicinity, right? And that's kind of basically how DedSec's abilities work, right? So when you're doing that, just make sure that you're in cover, because it can be cancelled within like a little bit, but like as long as you're quick enough and then get killed, it's fine. You should be fine. So the Ultra is basically destroy every ability that the team has output, and it also disables their abilities for about 30 seconds, something like that, or until they die. But basically, yeah, DedSec's really fun to play. I highly recommend, if you can, check DedSec out when you do get the game or when you do download the game again. But yeah, they're also, yes, they're passive. Yes. I forgot about the passive for a second. But their passive is basically they have infinite grenades because they have a little 3D printer in their back pocket or something. I don't actually know. They can just print grenades all the time, so they don't have to go and resupply with grenades. They only have to resupply their normal ammo, and that's it. And obviously, every active ability has a cooldown, so your spider bots, your mag barriers, your heals, whatever. Everything has a cooldown aside from grenades because grenades are equipment. And the only time you have a cooldown on grenades is if you're playing DedSec because they can print them. But anyway, that's everything. Let me know your thoughts on the open session if you played it. If you didn't, what do you think of the gameplay? Do you like the gameplay so far? And with that, that is the end of today's video. I hope you guys do enjoy XDefiant when it does come out. And yeah, I don't really have an outro for this. Not an intro. But I guess I can say happy hacking. DedSec out.